And welcome to this week's episode of Two Guys on Politics with co-host former Illinois Congressman Bill Lipinski and column and who is also a columnist, by the way, at the Southwest News newspaper group, writing about politics and national issues. And myself, Ray Hanania, I'm a writer and columnist also with the Southwest News newspaper group in Illinois and with Arab News newspaper. It's July 6, 2025. This is season 4, episode 16 of Two Guys on Politics, which is broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 radio, as well as on YouTube at twoguysonpolitics.com. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast and to communicate and email us with your thoughts and get the latest episodes there. My co-host for this radio show and podcast, Bill Lipinski, was served as a Democratic Committeeman and Alderman of Chicago's 23rd Ward. Lipinski was elected to Congress in 1983 and served through 2005. He currently writes the Right from the Center opinion column at the Southwest News newspaper group. And if you go to twoguysonpolitics.com, our website, you should be able to get a link to the Southwest News newspaper group to read some of those columns. And I covered Chicago City Hall from 1976 through 1992, where, by the way, I met Bill Lipinski, great political mind at Chicago. And I write mainstream opinion columns also for the Southwest News newspaper group, as well as on my own website at hanania.com and for the Arab News newspaper at arabnews.com. We have several topics today on our new program, which is longer because we're now on radio. And we're very grateful to the WNZK AM 690 radio for putting us on each week in Michigan. I think if you look up WNZK AM 690 online, you can listen to the broadcast there again, as well as going to YouTube. But we're going to talk about a couple topics. One, the all but 2 Republicans voted to pass Trump's big, beautiful bill, if you're a Republican, or the big, ugly bill, if you're a Democrat, while all Democrats, of course, voted against it. The bill has issues such as increasing the American debt, failing to address Social Security, and a lot of other, claims. Some of them I think are true, but there's just too much exaggeration in it, I think. And we're also going to talk about Elon Musk, who broke with Trump again. Was his best friend, richest man in the world, then broke with him, then went back with him, then broke with him with Trump. And now Musk is calling for the creation of the America Party. So we're going to talk about the America Party and what it could mean for the American public. And we're also going to talk about the 4th of July, the meaning of patriotism, independence, Trump's speech in Iowa, and we'll kind of end on that topic. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, Bill and I will chew through these issues right after these messages. And welcome back to Two Guys on Politics. I'm co-host Ray Hanania with my co-host, our co-host, former Illinois Congressman Bill Lipinski. We're talking about a bunch of stuff, but first on the agenda is the Trump bill. Bill, was it big and beautiful or was it big and ugly? What's the assessment? Have you been able? It's a long, complicated bill, but overall, what do you think this bill does for our country?
Well, here's the problem that I have. I do not know who to believe. The bill is 900 pages.
Right.
I'm not going to read the 900 pages. I don't know who does read the 900 pages. So we have to rely upon other people who have the time, the energy to read it and then to analyze it. Well, if you talk to the Democrats, it's the big, ugly bill. You talk to the Republicans, it's the big, beautiful bill. What I do know about it and what I do understand about it concerns me a great deal because we continue to increase the deficit of this country. And we just cannot continue to do that. At some point, we come to where we're going to be bankrupt, to be perfectly frank and honest with you. I believe right now we are 125% over the gross national product.
Right.
It's incredible.
That's without the bump that we just had in the gross national in the national debt that this bill creates. Right. That's
Right.
as of this past year.
We have to find some way of cutting down on debt. Uh, Now, certainly, I don't want to cut Social Security. I don't want to cut Medicare. I see that there are cuts in this for Medicaid. Now, that's Medicaid takes care of the poorest people. Now, if you listen to the Republicans, they will tell you that it's nothing but illegal aliens who are on Medicaid that are being cut off of it. Okay, there's no American citizens.
Right.
Yet there is already a hospital in rural Iowa that has decided they're going to close down.
Yikes.
They realize, that they're just not going to get the money they've been getting in the past from the federal government. They will not be able to operate. Now, this is in the middle of Iowa. I don't really believe there's an awful lot of illegal aliens in the middle of Iowa. Okay, I think they're concentrated primarily in big cities, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, maybe Detroit. I don't know so much about Detroit. All right, so I just wish that there was some source, someplace that could give us an honest reading of the bill.
Yeah.
Now, you had 10 Republican House members who were definitely opposed to this bill, who were not going to support it. They got a call from Trump. In most cases, he simply said to them, if you don't vote for this bill, I'm going to see to it that you have a primary election.
He threatened them, right?
Right, absolutely. Now, that's not democracy to me, okay?
Yeah.
That's intimidation. And 8 out of the 10 of them went over and supported the bill. 2 did not support the bill. The Democrats, are going so far afield with the socialism that we have creeping into the Democratic Party. I don't really know who to believe, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we just have to wait and see day by day how this is going to work out. At the present time, I do not believe it will be helpful to the average American citizen, which is what the government is supposed to watch out for and take care of.
Yeah. I listen. I agree with you. That the big problem is we can't get anybody to tell us the truth. And by the way, I had to look it up because the two they're actually 2 Republicans. One of them that I'm increasingly liking, this Republican congressman from Kentucky, Thomas Massey, voted against it, and a Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, who I don't really know anything about, voted against it. I know that Marjorie Taylor Greene was upset with it and said was going to vote against it, but she kind of backed down because everybody was saying, she's a big MAGA supporter, but she's upset with how we're spending money overseas. She doesn't agree with Trump on that, but she backed down. But I think you're right. The problem is we can't get any honesty from anybody, not from the Republicans and not from the Democrats. It's like
Absolutely.
they all have their own agenda of what it is that they want to say. They just beat up on each other. They both lie. But I notice that when the news media does their fact checking, for example, CNN did some fact checking that quoted Trump as saying, this bill is the most popular bill ever signed in the history of our country. I just got to pause for a second, Bill. Every time I hear Trump say something, I have to laugh. I'm embarrassed. I'm beyond embarrassment. I used to be embarrassed. Now I have to laugh because he's like a comedian with no substance. But CNN showed that even the Fox News polling says that 60% of registered voters say they oppose the bill. and only 38% said they favor it. This guy is delusional when it comes to stuff. But the issues that I have are the ones that you talked about. Um, the Trump increases the national debt probably 3 trillion, maybe $4 trillion to pay for all this stuff that they're doing. And it's not just they're giving people money. What they're doing is he's cutting the costs and taxes on the wealthiest people in our country, and we have to make up that money somehow that we're now losing. And the cuts that he does in welfare are so minor compared to, what we're saving. He's spending so much money. But for me, obviously, the biggest problem, not just the debt. And I got that chart that I said, let me pull it up here just to show you that, listen, the debt has been increasing since 2006 steadily. It really started it was at like $5 trillion in 2006. And it started to go up in 2009 when Barack Obama was the president. Now, let's be fair, right? When you look at the chart, it starts to go up. And by the time Obama gets out of office in 2017, it has gone up almost $10 trillion. Okay, he's in 8 years. This is the national debt of the United States. It's gone up 8 trillion under Barack Obama. Then Trump comes in 2017. It continues to go up about 3 trillion during his first 3 years. And in his last year, in Trump's last year in 2020, before he lost to Biden in November 2020, he boosted it up almost. It looks like about $4 trillion. It jumps. I mean, when you look at the chart, it goes up from like about 2017 to 2020, just in that to 2020. It goes up from 17 trillion to $20 trillion just in his last year in office. And then it continues to climb under Biden between 2017 and 2021. It goes up like about a 2 trillion, maybe 1.5 trillion, 2 trillion. And then Trump comes back into office. By the time he came back into office in 2024, 25, when he was sworn in, we're at 28. Sorry, let me double check this. 28 trillion, the national debt. And the intergovernmental holdings debt is at 35 trillion. We're going to add another $3 to $4 trillion on that like it's nothing. And Bill, when we increase the debt like that, what does that mean for us? I mean,
Well,
it's unfathomable. We're talking about numbers most people can't put on, a piece of paper. These numbers are so big.
oh, that's very, very true. Well, of course, when we increase the debt, we are printing more money. Now, the federal government can print as much money as they want to print, which is a terrible, terrible mistake. There
Right.
should be some kind of limit on the whole thing. And people will say, well, Congress, I'm not talking about Congress. I'm not talking about the president. There should be divine intervention on how much this country can spend, to be perfectly frank with you, because no one has the wherewithal to stop spending. But the more you spend over what you're taking in, the greater the inflation gets. Inflation hits everyone. Now, how in heaven's name gas prices are down right now, I
Right.
don't really understand.
Yeah, he claims that it's just not true. He said, "Oh, they're down like under $2." I went to the gas station the other day. It was almost $3.50 a gallon, and I'm thinking, okay, usually during the holidays it goes down a little bit, but now it's like huge. So you're right that go ahead. I mean, the prices are going up.
Yes, I mean, I marvel anytime I go to the store to buy stuff. I cannot believe how much 4 or 5 items are going to cost me. This can't go on. We're going to go
Right.
bankrupt in this country.
Right.
We have the world's largest economy. You would think that we could stay within our spending means with having such a large economy. This tax break was due to expire. They should have just left it expire.
Right.
All the revenue then would have come back into the government.
Right.
Would help cut down on the deficit considerably. But instead, because many of the people are big Republicans,
Right.
get this tax break, he wanted to go ahead and continue to do it. It was a terrible mistake, terrible mistake. You keep talking about Trump and not believing him. He really is. I mean, I cannot believe a word he says anymore.
Right.
His exaggeration is
Right.
incredible, absolutely incredible.
But why isn't, here's the thing. I mean, you and I, I blame the Democratic Party as much as I blame the Republicans, because and I want to save the Elon Musk thing for our second part, so I don't want to get into the new party. But the truth is, the Republicans have some things that I like. They want to crack down on illegal aliens, and they want to crack down on crime. Those are great things. And if you live in an area where there's a lot of crime, you've seen the transition of people voting for Trump in this last election, like in Illinois. There was a surge of voters. He didn't take Illinois, but he got mainstream Americans across the country to vote for him and Republicans because they're tired of illegal immigrants, not legal immigrants, but illegal aliens coming into this country and getting benefits. Some of them do get benefits, but I don't believe it's as big as Trump is exaggerating. But we're tired of that. And the criminals, it seems like they get away with murder, and the victims are the ones, and the police are the ones that are punished for it. But then you look at the Democrats, and you look at the Democratic Party, and they're doing just the opposite. The Democrats support illegal aliens. They don't care. They want to spend more of the mainstream money to help these people because they believe they're going to be their voters. And they also seem to be wanting to undermine the crackdown on crime. Our Cook County State's attorney, the former one, Kim Fox, spent 8 years reducing the burden on criminals in Cook County, one of the biggest Democratic bastions in the Midwest. And if you're a criminal in Cook County, you get away with all kinds of things now. They doubled the amount of money that would constitute a felony. You used to be steal $500. It was a felony. She raised it to $1,000, so people started stealing more. That's See, even our pets are arguing. We're getting
Yes,
them upset
absolutely.
by all this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I think that I think my dog here is a Republican because when you were
You think
attacking the
so?
Republicans, he came over here and started
Or
barking.
or maybe he's a misguided Democrat who
Could
supported
be.
the Republicans because he's upset about the increase in crime that's taking place. But the point is that they each are supporting extremist polar views, and nobody is supporting what we really want. No, we want lower taxes. The Democrats say they want, to lower the taxes. The Republicans say they want to lower the taxes, but neither of them has done anything. The one thing I will say about Trump is when he said he was going to lower taxes, this tax breaks that could expire, that he's going to continue only through his presidency, by the way. He gave us some tax breaks, but he hurt us in the worst possible way when he was president, when he took away the property, when he put a limit on how much property taxes you could deduct from your income taxes. He put a $10,000 limit at a time when our property taxes continued to increase. So that was kind of, to me, whatever benefits he gave me, he took away from me. And that's what Trump is about, isn't it? That he says,
Yeah.
on one hand, I'm doing you a favor, but he doesn't talk about all the other costs that he's hitting us with.
I'm convinced that my dog is a Democrat because
You think?
time you attack Trump, she's over here trying to attack me or get through the screen and attack you.
Well, that's okay though. We want to hear from everybody. But see, isn't that
Well,
part of the, doesn't it bring us to what the problem is, Bill?
well, here's as
Go
far
ahead.
as I see the problem is the extremists in the Democratic Party control the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Trump, who is an extremist in many, many ways, controls the Republican Party. The great middle class Americans, 70% of Americans, don't care about either one of the two parties. They think both of the parties are off the deep end and they are looking for someone else to follow, someone else to lead them out of this quagmire that we find ourselves in. And it isn't the Democrats, it's not the Republicans, because you cannot trust either side. I keep saying that, Ray, but
Yeah.
that's true. Where do we go to find the truth about what's really going on in our country? I don't know.
Well,
Everybody's biased.
in a couple minutes, we're going to talk about one idea that Elon Musk has, after the break. But before we get to the break, I wanted to say that you're absolutely right. We got extremists in the Republican Party and extremists in the Democratic Party. I have no confidence in Hakeem Jeffries. I have no confidence in Andrew Cuomo. That's why he lost the New York City election to Zoran Mamdani, who described himself as a socialist. But as I read his comments, he doesn't use the word socialist in the same way that you and I, our generation, viewed the word socialist. That meant more of a, left-wing foundation of communism and even Nazism. The Nazis were the socialist Democrats. What he means by socialism is doing more for the poor. Now, I think, yeah, we should help the poor if you're a citizen. One third of American veterans, are poor, and half of them are homeless. Yes, let's do something for them. Senior citizens are struggling. Under Social Security, they make 2,200. The average is $2,200 a month. How do you live on $2,200 a month in this country today, with all the prices doubling? At the grocery store. We need to help them. And so far, nobody is addressing that. Nobody is helping them. No, not even the Democrats. They're the worst. It's racial politics with them.
Oh,
And
to a great degree, yes.
and with Republicans, it's financial politics. And that's one reason why they want to get rid of they don't want to do anything for the poor. It's horrible.
Now, I don't, uh, uh, he wants to give free transportation to everybody. Okay. Now, come on, Ray, you could afford, if you're going to take a bus or
Right.
an L, you could afford to pay for it. Okay.
Yes. I
You're going to pay for it one way or another. Because
Right.
if we give free transportation to
It's gonna
everybody, it's going to be more tax money that you have to pay.
Right. It
We're
won't
gonna-
come out of the wealthy because they don't care about transportation. It'll come out of the middle class
to
by
a great
paying more
degree.
more taxes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Somebody has to pay for transportation. It's publicly funded. The CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, PACE in Illinois is an example, and every state has public transportation. It's paid for by taxes. So there's no such thing as free public transportation.
Oh,
Why
and
do they lie?
he wants to pay, give free child care, preschool to everybody. You know, Once again, don't people have some responsibility on their
Yes.
own in this
Yes.
day and age? If they're going to have children, to take care of them, first of all, to see to it they get an education. Why should the government have to pay for people such as this? I mean, I don't mean to be mean. I believe that if you're down on your luck
We have to help them,
temporarily or
right?
permanently, the government should help you out.
Absolutely.
But
I
we
agree
pass
with you.
blankets bills saying everybody gets this. Here, neither you or I are going to have any more children, but neither you or I need free, uh,
Transportation.
well, not only free transportation, but the educational,
Right.
free education. We can pay for that for our children. Well, it upsets me so very, very much because things are so very different from what I encountered when I was in the House of Representatives for 22 years. I was fortunate to be there when Tip O'Neill was there and Ronald Reagan was there, and there was a great deal of cooperation between the two of them. There was even a lot of cooperation between Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich.
Right.
That's actually how we wound up having 3 years in a row of balanced budgets, the two parties working together. Now the two parties don't work together at all. They just try to sabotage one another.
Yeah, and they throw out things that they think sound good, like let's cut Social Security, but they taxes on Social Security, and they don't cut the taxes on Social Security, or let's have free child care, or let's have free transportation, because they think that yeah, there's going to be an audience who may not support them, that may bring them over to support them. It's all about local politics, so the politicians can go and lie about, and Democrats and Republicans about what they're doing. All right, let's do this. Let's take our next break here at Two Guys on Politics at WNZK AM 690. And when we come back, let's talk about how the middle class, and I think, Bill, part of the problem is the middle class voters, the people in the center. I don't think they're doing enough. They're waiting for leadership, and that leadership has proven it's not going to be there. No Democrat is doing the right, maybe one or two, but the Democrats are not doing the right thing, and the Republicans are not doing the right thing. Something needs to happen. We're going to talk about this idea that Elon Musk has to create the America Party, a third party, and he has the money to fund it if Trump doesn't destroy all his businesses out of anger. Anyway,
all his government contracts.
Yes, he's already threatened to say that. I can't believe he can get away with that without inviting a lawsuit against the government from Musk's businesses. But who knows? All right, I'm Ray Hanania with Bill Lipinski, co-host here at Two Guys on Politics. It is July 6, 2025, Season 4, Episode 16. TwoGuysOnPolitics.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back right after these messages. And welcome back to Two Guys on Politics with co-host former Illinois Congressman Bill Lipinski and myself, Ray Hanania, a columnist with Arab News. We're both from Illinois. We're broadcasting in Michigan and in Illinois. You can get our podcast and radio show at YouTube by visiting twoguysonpolitics.com or by visiting our host, the U.S. Arab Radio Network, which is graciously offered to broadcast our show every week, 3 or 4 times a week. So you're able to hear us. You may be listening to the show after we broadcast it, which was on July 6th, 2025, which is today for us, but you may catch it later on in the week. We were talking about Trump's big, beautiful bill or the big, ugly bill, depending on whether you're Republican and Democrat. But there's a proposal, and we were talking during the first half of the show, Bill, about how both parties have let us down, the Democrats and the Republicans. But have you heard about Elon? I mean, how could you not hear about Elon Musk? The guy has so much money. He has so many businesses. He's doing everything in the world. He wants to start a new party called the America Party. And I already like the name, the America Party. I like it. And I think when I look at the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, I think both of them are failures. Their leaders are terrible. So why not give Elon Musk a chance? What do you think? Is it possible, or is this just a PR stunt on Musk's part to respond to his fight with Trump?
Well, I think it would be fantastic if we could start a new party in this country. And I applaud Musk for talking about it. He does have the money to do it, I believe. It would take an enormous amount of money. When you think of the 50 states we have, you're going to have to field candidates in all 50 states. Now, people say, well, no, you don't have to do that. But ultimately, you do have
Eventually.
to field candidates across the board. You have to field them for local office, county office, state office, and federal office. So I think it's a wonderful idea. Trump might be the man that can, pull it off.
Musk, you mean Elon Musk might be the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The most important aspect of that is that there are so many Americans who have really turned off their party. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of them have a good, happy, enjoyable life. They're paying more for various things, but they can afford to do so. They don't want to be involved in politics. They want government to be left to the politicians. A terrible, terrible mistake.
Yeah.
We need every single American to engage in politics, to understand what's going on, so they have much more of an influence. And that's the only way the America Party will be successful, if the people themselves are really involved and really engaged in it. One of the reasons that the Democrats and the Republicans are controlled by the fringes is because American people have really abdicated their responsibility as citizens to be involved in their government. That's how I feel about the situation. I hope that he can do so. Do you remember the No Labels group?
Yeah, I remember we talked about it in the last president, before in the campaign for president the last time, and unfortunately they never got off the ground. I think it was Lieberman, right? Joe Lieberman,
Yeah,
was he
Joe
one of the
Lieberman.
founders, or he
Yes, he was
talked
one of
about
the
it?
founders.
Yeah, and he was a Democrat, right, who seemed to be
Yes, he was.
conservative.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, I believe he passed away, didn't he?
Well, he did pass away,
Yeah,
but they're still around. But I don't know who can believe in them anymore,
right,
because they were going to field a candidate, you
right.
know, in the last presidential election 2 years before. Uh, they failed to do so. I'm very down on the No Labels. I think that all they've done is collect money from individuals to pay people who work in No Labels uh, pretty good salary. So I'm very disappointed in No Labels. But that was an attempt to create a third party also. I think Musk can do a much better job, because based upon his personality, he'll run everything,
Right.
which is probably good to create a party, because it is such a monumental job. Now, I'm not saying that he should control the candidates. I'm just talking about him creating the infrastructure for a third party in this country.
Well, the reason I think it might work is one, Trump or Elon Musk has the money. He's the
Well, no
richest
question.
man in the world, so he could fund candidates, new candidates to run. But you don't necessarily have to just have new candidates running under the America Party. You could reach out to several disgruntled Democrats who are unhappy with the Democratic Party, and we saw there are at least 10 Republicans who are not happy with everything that Trump is doing, and they have no place to go, so they have to kneel, bend the knee to Trump when he threatens them. But two of them didn't. That guy Massey from Kentucky and the other guy from Pennsylvania. They voted against the bill, and obviously Trump will probably go after them. But they'd be perfect
Absolutely.
for the America Party. And I bet if they knew that Musk was willing to put up money to help reelect existing members of Congress, the scenario could be this. I saw the vote. I think it was what, 218 to 212 or something for in Congress.
Yeah, I
If
think
you
that
were
was
to
it.
take 20 members of Congress from the Republicans and a few from the Democrats, neither party would have control of the House.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Which
would
would
it
be wonderful.
and that would force, and maybe a couple members of the Senate, that party, as small as it is, could be the leverage needed to force these guys to compromise. In order, if the Republicans wanted to pass a bill, they'd have to compromise. Right now, neither side is compromising. There's no compromise. They each want their extreme. So that scenario, even as small as it could be, all he needs is like 20 members of Congress. He could control the country. They would be the
I won't go
deciding
that far,
vote.
Ray, but
But he would, I mean, in terms of the deciding vote,
well,
it,
yes.
it won't be all Republicans versus all Democrats. We'd see a shift, I think, if that were
Well,
to
here's
happen.
something that is what has happened in the last 20 years or so, principally in the federal government. The leadership of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have controlled the money. Okay. And the candidates are funded now by the leadership.
Right.
Very few candidates can fund themselves any longer
Right.
because politics is awash in money. Because the leadership controls all the money, they believe that they should control all the votes in the House and in the Senate. Now, in the House, the title is United States Representative. Okay. That's supposed to be a representative of the people who send you to Washington, D.C. You're not supposed to represent the nation. You're supposed to represent the people in your district. And because of all the money in politics, the leadership has forced so many members not to represent their constituents, to represent the goals, the priorities of the national party. And I think that's another terrible mistake that we are dealing with. And I'd like to see the American Party guarantee that the people that they elect, the independents, not the independent, but the representatives and the senators will vote for the people who sent them to office. That's actually the foundation of this republic was that was the way things were supposed to be.
Yeah, and it just, I think it's a good point about the money because right now politics is driven by who has the most money.
Absolutely.
It's no longer about who has the most votes because the money seems to suppress the vote or augment the vote depending it brings it out. There should be a limit on how much money can be spent, on some of these races, especially
I
Congress.
applaud you totally. That is no question about it. That is correct. We have to find some way of doing that.
Yeah, we can't keep saying we're upset that the wealthy are getting everything when we sit there and we allow them to get everything
Right.
because we don't tell our local congressperson. You listen, you were a member of Congress for 22 years. If you sense that there was a large group of voters in your district who was upset and organized and they wanted you to change, you'd listen to them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. But
If you
I firmly believe, Ray, that I was sent there by the people of the third district, the fifth district, to represent their views as best I possibly can. Because, you don't always know what the majority wants. But in
right.
the cases where you know what the majority wants, that's how you should vote, no matter what the leadership of your party has to say. And in my case, I was fortunate enough, I managed to do that on numerous occasions in the 22 years that I was there.
Yeah, you were responsive to your
Correct.
voters and constituents in the, I think it was the fifth district originally, then it became the third district.
Correct.
And there were some issues, but you had enough of a base where you voted against you're a Democrat for 22 years. You
Right.
voted with Ronald Reagan, a
Numerous
Republican, when he
occasions.
needed the vote on a couple occasions, and the voters still returned you to office. So I think you're right. The voters want good leadership, good, honest leadership, and they're not getting it. And even though the vote turnout is coming out, we see a lot of voters in these elections tending to lean to the far right or the far left. I think the majority of them would lean to the center if they had the option. And right now, they don't have an option like that, do they?
No, they do. They definitely do not. No question about it.
But I think this guy, the one thing that Zoran Mamdani, I think, symbolizes is he gave them an option. It may not be the perfect political option in your view or my view, for example, but once they're given an option, they chose that option over the Democrat, over the conservative. They voted for a guy who was, and I think that's because in today's politics and elections, there's a lot of people that are voting against somebody and want to vote against somebody and will vote against somebody if they see there's a movement against somebody. So they may get somebody rather than voting. If you understand what I'm saying, when you're a voter, you can vote for somebody or you could vote against somebody. What motivates you the most in an election? Recently, we've seen people voting against rather than for.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a major change. So maybe this America Party. Now, Elon Musk hasn't defined it. What is it going to stand for? What are the issues? But I think that the main issue is that there are a lot of people that are unhappy with both parties and the way they're going, and they can come there and form the issues. And maybe he can attract some of the existing members of Congress and the Senate to join this movement and really create a substantial impact on American elections.
I agree. I agree. I hope that he's successful in doing so. And I hope he's successful early and often, because we're going to need it to save this republic from a number of things that are closing in on us, unfortunately, not only the national debt, but the divide that exists in this country between people. We must bridge that divide somehow. In a party such as his, just might be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the interesting things is, there are a lot of people like me. I'm in the middle. I'm a centrist. I'm a conservative Democrat, a Reagan Democrat. That's how we define ourselves, by the way, for our listeners. I'm a conservative Democrat. I don't want to, I want to help the poor. I don't want increased taxes. I want the money that we're spending to pay for what we're getting. And I think that the wealthiest people in this country should be paying taxes.
I
And
agree,
and
absolutely.
and there should be a limit on how much benefits they get because they're making a fortune. They don't need public transportation. They don't need one house. Even our governor, J.B. Pritzker, is one of the wealthiest people in the country too. I don't know how many houses he has. So he should be paying property taxes. Don't reduce property taxes for the wealthy. Manage property taxes for the middle class. Start focusing on the average middle class American who works 40 hours a week, who has to pay 70% of all their income goes to cover food, housing, cars, insurance, all this stuff. And they save and they put away money in Social Security. Quit lying to us, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, that you're going to eliminate the tax on Social Security. Illinois doesn't tax Social Security, but we do pay a federal tax in Illinois. And there are a number of states that are like that. Eliminate the tax on Social Security so that the retired, hardworking people can benefit from their Social Security. And if they want to work, just pay the taxes on the extra money that you make as a working
Very,
American.
very good point, Ray. Very good point.
Yeah, so I think that's where we should go. So it looks like I would join the America Party. I'll be honest with you. Would you do
I
it?
would join it also
All
because I don't
right.
have a party right
I'm
now.
going to let Elon Musk know. I have an email for him. He reached out to me one time because he liked something I wrote, but he's so all over the place. He probably figured I'm insignificant from the middle Midwest that he didn't think it was worth following up. But I'm going to follow up with him. But listen, it is the 4th of July, and patriotism is important. Next year is our 250th anniversary. I just can't imagine the Soviet Red Square parade that Trump is planning for next July 4th on his birthday before the 4th, which will be, he did that for the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Army. He turned it in, and very few people showed up. I don't know.
Yes.
It was like embarrassing. And again, he lied. He said so many people showed up. It just wasn't true. It was just horrible. Um,
Well, I want to say about Trump right now. Uh, he gave a speech in Iowa. Okay. I listened to the first 12 minutes of the speech. I really thought that I was watching a movie, a comedy. All right. Because, first of all, a lot of our listeners will not remember, but some people will remember the name of Benito Mussolini, the fascist leader of Italy in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And
Hitler's partner.
yes, now he strutted around when he gave speeches like he was a new Caesar. Well, that's exactly how Trump was acting in Iowa, strutting around on the stage like he was a new Caesar. He looked like a buffoon. He sounded like a buffoon. It was a
Embarrassing.
disgrace to the American people. It had to be something that lowered our esteem nationwide, worldwide. Now, I think that Trump has done a number of very good things. I'm not going to list them here, but I've listed them in my column. So it's not that I'm against many of his policies. I'm against him because of the way he conducts himself. He's talking about not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. What he brought
Oh
peace
my
to
God.
5 different warring factions.
Oh
Of
yeah,
course,
right.
the two main ones that he was going to bring peace to, he hasn't managed to achieve that at all yet.
It's
You
like he's turned away from Ukraine.
know, oh, absolutely.
He goes
I think
back and
he's turning
forth.
back to Ukraine now, Ray. The latest looks like he's turning back to Ukraine.
But
But
how
every
long will that last? Jeez.
well, that's exactly the point. How long will that last? And I could, after the first 10, 12 minutes, I couldn't watch it any longer. I was embarrassed for myself for being an American, and that's a terrible thing to say.
No, I listen, I agree with you. I mean, listen, I served during the Vietnam War, active duty in the US Air Force. My brother was a US Marine, my dad and my uncle. My dad served in the US Fifth Army with the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA during World War II. My uncle served on a battleship in the North Atlantic, for like 4 years. Now, people think, oh, yeah, 4 years is nothing, but being on a battleship for 4 years, oh my gosh, you didn't know whether you're going to live or die and the restrictions. Once in a while, you go to port. And my uncle was a great guy, Moses. He enlisted with my dad, and when he enlisted, they put my dad in the army because he was a law student, and my uncle in the Navy because his name was Moses, and they thought he'd part the sea, and that literally was why he ended up in the Navy. He wanted to be with my dad in the Army, but they signed him up to the Navy, and he spent 4 years on a battleship. And we were lucky we won the war. I mean, had the Nazis been 6 months further in their advancement, they may have created the nuclear bomb before us because all of those Nazi scientists that we managed to grab and allow to serve us managed to put that nuclear weapon together. It was their Nazis that helped put that bomb
I
together.
I prefer to refer to them as the good Germans.
Well, yeah, I mean they could, but listen, I can't imagine what it's like, or maybe I can, to live in an oppressive country where you're forced to be whatever the country wants you to be. You
Right.
don't have a choice. You stand up, they kill you. So yeah, maybe they're reluctant Nazis. I don't know. But to me, patriotism is we need to return to real patriotism to focus on this country. And I think patriotism means doing what's legal, doing what's right. And I don't think we do that a lot of times. We've forgotten, forsaken patriotism. We give money to all these people around the world, all these foreign countries, billions and billions of dollars that could go to our people. And that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican. She's a MAGA member, but she believes that we should stop funding these foreign countries and help our own people, the veterans, the seniors, even the poor. But we should crack down on the illegals who come in here and siphon away our money, illegally. So to me, patriotism, even dual citizenship, I don't think anybody has if Trump had one of the hostages from the Middle East in his office this past week, and he was an American citizen who didn't serve in the U.S. Army or U.S. military, but he did serve and was a staff sergeant in the Israeli army. So he found himself in a war between Hamas and Israel that had nothing to do with us, and they celebrated him as a hero. And I'm glad he's out. I don't want to see anybody killed. I don't support the Hamas terrorists. I don't support the Israeli government terrorists. They're both terrorists in my mind. But when you serve a foreign country, don't call yourself an American. They said he was an American patriot. And I'm thinking, How is he a patriot? He served in a foreign military, whether it's Israel or the Soviet Union or Mexico or whatever country you want. The majority of dual citizens in this country are Mexican Americans who are Mexican citizens with loyalty to Mexico and American citizens with loyalty. How do you have loyalty and swear an oath to two different
You
countries?
can't. It's impossible.
It is. We need to eliminate that, and that's one reason why I like that Thomas Massey. He introduced a bill to eliminate and ban dual citizenship and to force you as a candidate for public office to declare whether you have dual citizenship or not.
I think that's a very good idea. Uh, the dual citizenship was accepted in this country after the Second World War. The Jewish people lobbied very strongly because of the Holocaust
Right.
to give dual citizenship people in general. We gave it to the Jewish people. That was the first, the Israelis, it was the first country that you could be a citizen there and you could be a citizen here.
Right.
Jumping on the bandwagon right after that was Teddy Kennedy,
Right.
who wanted to give dual citizenship to the Irish, and he was very successful in doing so. Finally, after a year or two, they decided to give blanket dual citizenship to anyone that wanted it. I
Right.
think it was a mistake. If
Yeah.
you're an American, you're an American. You
Yes.
should not be affiliated with any other country in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And uh, dual citizenship. Listen, you could love the country where you came from if you're Irish or you're Arab or you're Jewish or Israeli or whatever. Love that country, support that country, but don't give them your oath of swearing, your oath of allegiance to that country from the hallowed grounds of America that we fought for. All right, Bill, I think anyway, any final thoughts? We're kind of at the end of the line here. Any other thoughts on
Well,
the
I just want
topic?
to say, oftentimes we talk about things that are detrimental to this country, things that are going on in this country that are not beneficial to all. But we must remember this is still the greatest nation on earth, and it's up to every single individual to try to improve this country. And a real show of patriotism would be get involved in what's going on in your country. That's a true patriot. That's how we freed ourselves from the British in the first place. And that's how we're going to keep ourselves free, keep ourselves prosperous, and keep ourselves as the leader of the free world. That's it.
I agree with that. I'm Ray Hanania with my co-host Bill Lipinski here at Two Guys on Politics. We're going to thank everybody for listening to us. Remember, you could hear this podcast or share this podcast by going to twoguysonpolitics.com or go to WNZK AM 690 radio and you can get the podcast and the audio there. But I urge you to go to twoguysonpolitics.com, which is on YouTube. You guys have a great week and we'll talk to you later. Bill, thanks so much.
Take care, Ray. You have a great week also.